1966 was the height of civil rights movement in America. Whilst the people marched to gain equality in jobs and schools, tensions were always high and often led to numerous unrest and brutality in the streets. These were the things witnessed by our man of the hour and the setting stage that led to him becoming a Rastafarian, a move that put him in the middle of two warring political rivals in Jamaica that almost took his life. Despite the challenges of growing up poor, fatherless, and mixed race, his one important message to this world was that of love. One love. So, what makes him one of the best-selling musicians of all time? Why did Jamaica honor him with a designated Order of Merit, and why did the CIA view his music as dangerous? Hi, I'm Albertina, and I'm excited to tell y'all about Bob Marley.
All my life I've been with intellect, but the flow is like incest with degenerates. Fucking stupid and fine of interest as I interject. I moonwalk in my boots, footsteps when I'm on set. Smooth predator boarding the mothership.
Bob Marley, born Robert Nesta Marley, was the child of an Afro-Jamaican mother, then 18-year-old Cedella Malcolm, and Noval Sinclair Marley, a white plantation overseer in 9 Mile, Jamaica. Marley's house is located in the village, as well as his mausoleum, now a tourist attraction.
Would you say Bob took after?
Well, I would say Bob took after me. Yeah,
Okay.
I would say that, because most of his actions is, that Christianity way in him. I think he get all that from me, I'm sure. Yeah.
It is said that Noval provided financial support for his wife and child, but seldom saw them as he was often away. Sadly, Noval died of a heart attack at the age of 70 in 1955 when Bob Marley was only 10 years old, leaving him with a genetic condition that will prove fatal in the years to come. Bob attended Stepney Primary and Junior High School, where he would play music together with his friend, later turned stepbrother, Neville Winston, also known as Bunny Wailer, a third of the Wailers.
If you keep lifting weight, then automatically you will get strong.
A little less Cardi B and a lot more Aaliyah. We'll see, huh? Sickened by this renaissance of skeezers. Shit is not for me, bruh. Yeah, I wanna hit through some speakers, playing in some kicks on the sneakers. You dig?
Marley and his mom moved to Trenchtown, Jamaica when he was 12. In the 1960s, Trenchtown was known as the Hollywood of Jamaica. It is the birthplace of rocksteady and reggae music, having become famous for the talent which emerged from this project. Marley spent most of his youth in the government yard of First Street, but life wasn't easy in Trenchtown. In fact, the group named the Wailers was symbolic of the environment at Trenchtown, coming from a town that wails.
Because the survival game wasn't one that was a easy road. Yeah, it's a rocky road, tough road. But if you keep lifting weight, then automatically you will get strong. You come from a community that is people always crying and mourning and weeping and wailing.
Before they were the Wailers, though, the trio Marley, Peter Tosh, and Bunny Wailer were the Teenagers, the Wailing Rude Boys, and the Wailing Wailers. Marley was considered a rude boy as he had to learn to defend himself from Trenchtown's rude boys, and nobody wanted music from the rude boys.
Trenchtown was just a struggle living, where you would get up and you hear people fight every day. As Bob said, you get up and you quarrel every day, you're saying price to the devil, I say.
The music scene in Trenchtown in the 1960s was heavily influenced by foreign music. Most radios didn't want to play the Wailers' music because of the distinctiveness of their sound.
We couldn't afford to buy records, so we listened to the radio. And anything the radio play is that we hear. So I wasn't really into them things. I was really into call it spiritual music.
Because Bob Marley and the Wailing Wailers Simmer down.
Everything started there. Everything started there. It's like, you know, you can't describe that moment, man.
Until Simmer Down. Simmer Down was an overnight hit and played an essential role in changing the musical agenda in Jamaica from imitating foreign artists to capturing the hearts and soul of Jamaica. The band's full-length album, The Wailing Wailers, was released in 1965, a compilation of tracks recorded at different times. Marley showed how dedicated and hardworking he was, as it was said he would be first to arrive at the studio and last to leave.
At that time, with a lot of rehearsal, everybody was hyped up, and when I selected Bob to be the leader.
Bob was very strict in terms of if you have a rehearsal, you have to be on time, and you don't laugh in rehearsals. Don't play around rehearsals. This is a serious thing, and if you want a future, you have to work for it. He was handsome. He's still handsome. I didn't think I would like a guy with his complexion, because I was always after tall, dark, and handsome.
He also made his first romantic songs, including while courting his then girlfriend, later turned wife, Rita.
I'm going through the days where people test my gangster just for a reaction. If I ain't getting paid or recording music.
In 1966, Zedella, Marley's mother, remarried and moved to Wilmington, Delaware, US. Marley, now a husband to Rita, moved next to her and worked as DuPont lab assistant and a forklift operator to earn some money. Because music doesn't pay that much at the beginning. Like, share, and subscribe to Pay an Artist. Thank you very much. He worked there for 8 months, and this must have shifted his perspective on the world around him. During this time, America was still recovering from the civil unrest, and the 21-year-old Marley witnessed the world around him change chaotically, to say the least. Soon after, he converted to the Rastafarian faith after leaving America to go back to his roots, Jamaica.
Well, I've been a Rasta from ever since, but it's not how long I've been a Rasta, it's how long it takes you to grow up. Because what he is what he is, from beginning to the end. You can never change, because if you even adapt things, later out you and filter right out. So we're just Rasta from creation,
The Rastafarian movement began in Jamaica during the 1930s, following a prophecy made by Marcus Garvey, a black political leader whose intention was to unify blacks with their land of origin. Rastafari closely align in essence, tradition, and heritage with Judaism, as both are Abrahamic religions. Most don't know that Rastafari is actually a minority fellowship in Jamaica, with less than 1% of the 2.7 million people identifying as Rastafarians. For Rastafarianism is a black conscious movement that replaces black struggle with a spiritual one. Haile Selassie and Marcus Garvey now being his role models, Marley returned to Kingston's studio to reflect on the harsh reality of life in the streets. So was the birth of reggae music, a slow-paced music from the Rastas.
It's not copy to it, it's the feel. It carry a feel where if you ask plenty musicians, them know it, but them can't do it. So people still searching for this truth here, which this reggae music bring across to them, and the only purpose it serves is to tell the people about Rastafari.
Starry skies leave me sorry-eyed, like sorry I didn't do what I gotta do to make sure we fortified as a unit. But don't leave me mortified. If you'd have kept it 100, a brother would be more than fine. Gave you more than.
The Kingston music business wasn't sympathetic to the Wailers, as the local recording industry was very competitive. Making music was one thing, but getting paid was a hassle. Mostly because the music industry didn't want to sell music from the Rasta. Still, the Wailers persisted as Marley was quite diligent and knew with consistency they'd break the whole case wide open, for he had the charisma that made the music sound nice. In the beginning of the 70s, Bob and the Wailers worked with Lee Scratch Perry, who was an innovative record producer known for his great production skills in his studio Upsetter Records. Scratch, who had gotten his nickname from his debut recording, The Chicken Scratch, was in a band of his own called The Upsetters. Members of both bands recorded together, producing songs like Soul Rebel, Run for Cover, Try Me. Upsetter Records had a distribution deal with UK-based Trojan Records. It is said that Lee sold the records to England without anyone's consent. Then in 1973, the Wailers left Upsetter Records, signing up with Island Records. Some of the members of the Upsetters left too, forming a second band of the Wailers band, allegedly.
Time gave you some peace of mind. That's why I got some qualms about the way you treated mine. You came close to doing damage to my third eye. That's why instead of people, these beats on my.
Marley and the Wailers was signed at Island Records by Chris Blackwell, who sent a young protege of his, Esther Anderson, to help manage the Wailers.
People who did not have anything to do with the system, yet they knew exactly what was going on in the world outside. They listened to the radio, the BBC, all the time, to the news. They read the newspapers and they read the Bible.
Well, that would explain why his music quoted the book of Proverbs a lot.
Then I found out he had kids. I didn't know I was in this relationship that he was married and kids all over the place and whatever. I was quite absolutely flabbergasted. I said, how can you, a young boy like you, have so many children? I didn't know that he had many.
In 1974, though, the original Wailers disbanded, but Marley still kept the name Bob Marley and the Wailers. And in 1975, Bob released No Woman, No Cry, that became an international hit. They said that he wrote this song for Rita Marley, and because of the state in the Trenchtown area.
Showing up, what's worse, would you rather see casualties of me casually? Snap on beat speakers quick, drastically. The team imagine tease as we pass the reef. Ask the streets if I ain't play it cool, they be mad with me, cause I'm the one they want to prevail and fail at the same time. That's why I talk about good and bad in the same rhyme within
the Kingston environment in the mid-70s started looking ugly. Unemployment for youths, insecurity, and violence were the frustrations of the people. On top of that, the two warring political parties, People's National Party led by Michael Manley and Jamaican Labour Party by Edward Seaga, had turned Trenchtown to a war town. It is said that the CIA was also involved in the dispute, backing one side to take the head political seat over the other. Here's a clue: one party was a communist. Trenchtown had now blossomed into a reggae town, and politicians used reggae artists and their music to influence the people. Bob and the Wailers had now become a special target to amass more influence. Bob Marley wanted no politics. He was a Rastafarian, and his voice was to raise the awareness of the black people through his music.
Think of it political. I'll never be a politician nor think political. They just deal with life and nature. That's the greatest thing to me.
Since the Wailers were the voice of the people, they decided to hold Smile Jamaica concert to unite the people who had become politically manipulated. PNP leader Michael Manley was set to attend. Tensions were high, for that created an environment for hostility. The CIA, on the other hand, looked at reggae music as dangerous, bringing conscious awareness to the Jamaican people. I have a theory. In my opinion, they created an agenda against Hab to tarnish the credibility of the Rastafarians. What you think?
I saw some men walking, creeping, like getting up to enter into the room where Bob was. And I heard, and I said, shit.
Entertainer and reggae star Bob Marley, Rita Marley, and the manager of the Wailers, Don Taylor, are now patients in the University Hospital after receiving gunshot wounds during a shooting incident which took place at Marley's home at 56 Hope Road tonight.
Well, we know it was some political gangsters. We couldn't tell you if it was left or right wing or what, but it was. But we know that what we were doing, that we could expect an invasion from all directions.
This, though, didn't stop the Wailers from attending the Smile Jamaican concert on 5th December 1976. Rita, the wife, who was now part of the I3, which consisted of Rita, Judy Mowat, and Marcia Griffiths, provided vocals to Marley.
My life not important to me. Other people's life important. My life is only important if me can help plenty people. If my life is just me, my own security, then I don't want it. My life is for people. That's the way me is.
It was in London where Bob lived with Jamaican beauty queen Cindy Breakspears, something that brought him a lot of scandalous attention from the blogs. Yep, and Rita was still in the band I3 and still working with Marley.
Okay.
I had never met anyone like Bob when I met him. He wasn't the smooth talker in terms of what your normal suitor would have been. His idea of a gift might have been a mango, or just, very, very coy ways of inviting you to come outside and have a walk in the evening, or, he wasn't the one to call up and say, well, how about dinner and dancing tomorrow night at 8 o'clock? Because he didn't live his life like that anyway. First of all, if there was music happening, then music came before everything else. It really didn't matter how beautiful you were.
But we had this Exodus album, and he was doing this song that I found that he wrote about Cindy. So when he just met Cindy, and so I'm saying, what? You write that song for Cindy and want me to sing it? I'm not singing.
It was in London also that he released records like Is This Love, Is This Love, Is This Love, Is This Love That I'm Feeling? Turn Your Lights Down Low, that was said to be written for Cindy.
I want to give you some good loving.
Marley was heavily criticized for these songs. I mean, he was the one that said, the biggest coward is a man who awakens the love of a woman with no intention of loving her. It was also in London that Bob became an household name, showing his strength through music. Here where he produced his 9th album, some say 10, Exodus, following Rastaman Vibration in 1976. Exodus thematically moves away from cryptic storytelling. Instead, it revolves around the themes of change, religious politics, and love. Remember how I told you all that Marley's father left him a genetical condition that will prove fatal? Well, in 1977, Marley was diagnosed with acral lentiginous melanoma. It is said that after a football injury, he visited the doctor and had a black spot under his toenails. The doctor advised Marley to amputate his big toe, but Marley was reluctant to do this. Instead, he opted for the doctor to do a skin graft on his toe, and he went home. In 1978, 14 months later, Marley, who loved and missed Jamaica, returned home determined to have another concert that will bring unity to the island, as little had changed politically. Fear and doubt was still high in Jamaica. So on April 22nd, 1978, Bob headlined the One Love Peace concert at the National Stadium in Kingston. It was the moment that literally shook the foundation of a nation. The concert came to its peak during Bob Marley and the Wailers' performance of "We Jamming in the Name of the Lord." At this point, Marley called on the political rivals Michael Manley, PNP, and Edward Seeger, JLP, onto the stage. It was here that he joined their hands and prayed for unity. This gesture changed little for the people, at least he tried, and Marley continued with his music that showed devotion in Rastafarianism and showing that he wasn't a sellout. 56 Hope Road became Bob Marley's own record studio and home to many people in Trenchtown. It is believed, or said rather, that here everyone hung out peacefully, including gang members, artists, rivals, the whole shebang. Bob, who was affectionately called the Gong, an echo of the name given of the founder of the Rastafari, Leonard, I quote, the Gong, Howell, was extremely disciplined and bright, although tried to show people the opposite. Bob Marley's greatest professional desire, though, was to get his music to the motherland, Africa.
But South Africa, to you, should start right here, within your own self. First, we got to admit that we racist. First, we got to admit that we sexist. First, we got to admit that we don't give a damn about poor people and sick people and minority people.
He had hated apartheid in South Africa and believed his music could change political systems. He also had been told by one of his friends that his music was popular in Africa. So, in December of 1978, Bob Marley set his eyes to the motherland, mostly Ethiopia. His trip started out with a challenge, of course. His visa was denied. So he and Rita and at least 2 of his friends landed in Nairobi, Kenya to get an Ethiopian visa. Jambo, Karibu Kenya. Like, share and subscribe. This move didn't help as he was still denied. Marley was frustrated. Ironically, in the same area, a man showed up having witnessed the whole ordeal and suggested that he could get them approved visa for a small fee of $100.99. The group was hesitant, but Bob gave him a chance. Turns out, the man had a family in the ambassadorial residence, and Taff Gong Marley and his group got away to Ethiopia. Ethiopia was inspiring to Bob as it was the home of one of his role models, Haile Selassie. Here, he visited the Ethiopian Orthodox Church that holds Judeo-Christian beliefs, and also Shashamane, an Ethiopian town designated as a settlement of Rasta experts from around the world. Basically, if you are a Rasta in Jamaica or any part of the world, there is a home for you in Ethiopia that was designated by Haile Selassie. I cannot see why they truly love this man. I mean, free land?
I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I don't wanna wait in vain.
I don't come to bow, I come to conquer. My home is always where I am. My home is in my head. My home is what I think about. How I try to set my mind to thinking that I think. That is my home. My home is not a material home out somewhere out there. You know, my home is in my head.
Are you a rich man?
When you mean rich, what you mean?
You have a lot of possessions? A lot of money in the bank?
Position make you rich? I don't have that type of richness. My richness is life. Because the greatest thing is that life. See? It's life. Life I deal with. If the preacher read the Bible and tell you that you have to die to go to heaven, then it's not reading the Bible. Because the Bible tells you, you have to live in a heaven. You don't die and go to heaven, you have to live in heaven. You know, a lot of places on earth could be, but Africa is our heaven, because that's where we come from.
By the fall of 1980, Marley was an international star. He and the Wailers, not the original, took a tour to America to promote his music. It was during this tour that Marley collapsed while jogging in Central Park on Sunday, the 21st of September. He later found out that the melanoma had grown to his lungs and brain, explaining the symptoms like loss of breath and fatigue that he had felt for a while. The doctors advised for a treatment that wouldn't do too much and gave him few weeks to live. He lived more. Well, until the 11th May of 1981. By this time, Marley had been baptized into the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. In Miami Hospital on his way back home to Jamaica, Marley took his last breath. His last words to his son Ziggy were, "On your way up, take me up. On your way down, don't let me down."
There's a natural mystic flowing through me here. This could be the first trumpet. Might as well be the last.
10 days later, Robert Nesta Marley was given a state funeral. Former Prime Minister Michael Manley read his eulogy. He was honored an Order of Merit by the nation of Jamaica for his contribution to the Jamaican people through his music and inspiring life. Years later, the album Legend, a compilation of his work, was also released and became the best-selling reggae album of all time. In 1994, a decade later, Rolling Stone ranked him number 11 on its list of 100 greatest artists of all time. Bob Marley and the Wailers, a name he still retained, sold over 75 million records decades later, ranking him one of the best-selling music artists of all time. Though he lived a short life, he lived a full one. Hopefully, this video has inspired you. Mostly, hope you have enjoyed and learned some things. Thank you for being here. Like, share, and subscribe. Bye!